All righty. And we are officially live. So glad to have everyone here today for another episode of the Kriner Scoop. I know it's been a while since I've done a video, but I'm here now. So let's just get into it. And today we're going to be doing something a little different. I don't usually cover football on this channel, but it's not unheard of. If you're a long-term time follower, you know that I've done a few Kriner's Kickers podcast trailers for my podcast for fantasy football. And I've also done a video on the XFL, the 2020 version. So this is, rebooting that aspect of the channel. So let's just get into it with USFL Week 2. So we are actually going to be doing predictions for this week for the new Spring League that you may or may not have heard of. Just a little background. I have very little qualifications to make these predictions, but I will go over them. I do have a fantasy football podcast, as mentioned earlier, and I have won said fantasy football league that the podcast is about one time. So they got a dub on my belt. And I'm also an avid spring football league fan. So I enjoyed the AAF, I think it was, Alliance of American Football. You may have noticed I've got my Atlanta Legends hat on. I think I went to their first game. They lost as far as I remember. But it was a good time. And the XFL, of which like I mentioned, I made a video about on this very channel way back in 2020. I think I did a prediction video just like this. And I think I got all the picks right. I don't remember. The XFL folded pretty quickly after that, so I don't remember. Other qualifications, I did watch the first game of the USFL version 2 between the Birmingham Stallions and the New Jersey Generals. Full disclosure, I did not see any of the other games because they weren't streamed on Peacock, but I did keep up with the action through the weekend, and I feel like I've got a pretty good idea about what to expect this week. Maybe not good, but definitely better than what I was expecting the first week. So without further ado, hopefully you're impressed, but without further ado, here are my predictions for week 2 of the USFL season. All right, we're going to go game by game. So first up, we've got the Michigan Panthers against the New Jersey Generals. The Panthers are coached by Jeff Fisher and led on offense by quarterback Shea Patterson, or at least that's what I'm assuming after Paxton Lynch started, I think, the first game, and he was terrible. From what I understand, I did not watch it. In general, the Michigan offense was not great and did everything in its power to lose the first game by putting the ball on. This is the stat that jumped out to me. They fumbled, I think, 8 or 9 times officially, which is just god impressive. It's not a good way to win a game, if you ask me. So that's pretty ugly. And on the other side, we have the New Jersey Generals, who are also 0-1. They actually fell to the Birmingham Stallions in by far the best game of week 1, as most people would agree. And really, in a lot of ways, it seems like the Generals probably should have won that game. They definitely seem to have the advantage over every other team in the league in that they saw competent quarterback play from both of their quarterbacks. They've got Luis Perez and DeAndre Johnson, who they cycle through. The only question right now is about Coach Mike Riley's decision-making because he kind of blew an early lead in that first game. But I think it's too early to give up on him. Final prediction for this game, Generals win by a score of 28-17 over the Michigan Panthers. All right, so game 2. Oh, and that first game is Friday at 6 p.m., so it's tonight at 6 Eastern time. Next up, we have the Pittsburgh Maulers and the Philadelphia Stars. Both of these teams are 0-1. And both of these teams I don't know a whole lot about. So I had to do a little bit more research on these. I can say through my research, it seems Pittsburgh definitely had the worst week 1 of all teams. There's not much disputing that around the league, but there are still some positives. The defense held the opposing offense to 17 points, and the offense was, it seemed they were competent with Josh Love under center, as opposed to Kyle Lauletta, who they started with. So maybe they can turn it around. On the other side, we've got the Philadelphia Stars with Bryant, who have Brian Scott under center, who threw it a whopping 36 times in game 1. That didn't amount to a win, but it's still nice to see a USFL team that has that much confidence in their quarterback. So I think Stars, I think they start to roll a little bit here. I think they win this one 24-14 over Pittsburgh. Third game we have is the Birmingham Stallions versus the Houston Gamblers. And it's hard not to feel like the Birmingham Stallions are the darling of this, or are not the darlings of this young league, after they pulled out an amazing comeback victory against the New Jersey Generals in the first ever USFL game, version 2, especially since they did it behind the arms and legs of quarterback 2 Jamar Smith, after Birmingham legend Alex Magoo went down with an injury or an aversion to rain. It's still all rather unclear what happened to him. He just the ball slipped out of his hands and then he just didn't play again. And he got hurt, maybe. What I'll remember is how dead in the water Birmingham seemed when Smith came in, and I think he missed his first 4 or 5 passes. But when I tuned back in at the very end of the game, he's driving and completing the game-winning run for a touchdown. So, yeah, that was very exciting. And he won Offensive Player of the Week. I think it was deserved. Hopefully he can keep it up because he's got a fan of me so far. But let's move on and talk about the Gamblers, the Houston Gamblers, who are also 1-0. And they got there through a strong defense that's definitely bent but rarely broke in week 1. And they also had a strong, consistent rushing attack anchored by running back Thompson. I don't know his first name yet. I'm going to have to look into that. So, all in all, I think Birmingham comes back to earth a little bit. I think Houston pulls off this win in a close one, 17-13. And last but not least, we have my team of choice in the USFL. We have the New Orleans Breakers versus the Tampa Bay Bandits. Now, both teams are 1-0 after week 1. New Orleans did it with a dominant first half defensive performance from players like Davin Bellamy from Georgia and Vontae Diggs from Connecticut. Quarterback Kyle Sloter and the offense didn't necessarily impress, but they did do enough to win the game. So, that's good. On the other side, Tampa Bay had the most one-sided week 1 victory. Jordan Ta'amu led a balanced offense, and Coach Todd Haley's defense had a dominant week 1 performance. Still, I like New Orleans to win this one, and because I think Kyle Sloter settles in, and the defense continues to impress. So I think Breakers win 28-21. And that will do it for my week 2 predictions. We'll see how I do. And, if I have time, I'll come back for week 3 predictions next week. Hopefully this helps, set the stage for you. You kind of know what to expect going into this week. Maybe you got some bets to make. I don't know. I wouldn't recommend listening to me for that, but you can. Final thoughts for week 2. I'm excited for more of the famous drone and helmet footage exclusive to the USFL. Personally, I think we just need more cameras. I think we need a ref cam, a fan cam, like a concession stand cam. I think it'd be funny. But yeah, other than that, good luck to all of your teams next week or this coming week. And I will try and be back once again next week with more predictions for the USFL. Until next time, this has been the Kriner Scoop. All right, good luck.